Hey everybody! Today, with NASA at home, in my home, we are going to have a rockin' good time. Literally. We're going to talk a little bit about rocks. Now, you might not know much about rocks, but if you ever have any geologist friends, you might have found them with one of these. This is called a loupe, and it's just a magnifying glass that they can use to look really closely at the different types of rocks to see what kind of crystals are in them, to figure out what kind of minerals are actually inside. Because otherwise you might find a couple rocks like these that look pretty similar, at least in color, but they are actually quite different. So this one, it has magnetic properties, whereas this one does not. So I know that satellites aren't looking through their loupes and their magnifying glasses to be able to see what kind of rocks and minerals are on the ground, but NASA sensors do use light that's reflected from the sun and measure that to be able to see what kind of rocks and minerals are exposed on Earth's surface. So in Hide and Seek Sandstone, Geology by Satellite from EO Kids, we talk a little bit about what you can see from the surface. So right here you can see that there's some stripes on the surface. We do want to look for patterns to be able to see what's going on our landscape. First, let me tell you a little bit about how rocks form. So rocks form in layers. The oldest ones are typically at the bottom, with the younger ones placed on top. And if you've ever noticed when you've been driving down a road or looking out your window at a nice outcrop of rocks, you may have seen something that looks kind of like this. You might have seen different stripes. Now this one's really cool because it's folded, which means that the earth has moved in some way that has made the rocks compress and make ridges, or that it's pulled apart in other ways, and then it makes them make other patterns that reveal a lot about what's happened in the past. And by seeing all of this, geologists are able to look back and go, wow, I can see a lot about the history of our Earth and how things have formed. So we are going to do an experiment today. So this one's really simple. All you need is some modeling clay, and you only get to pick two. You could use 3 different colors if you wanted to, but we'll just use 2 today. So I'm feeling like orange is going to be a great color. Maybe that'll be like our sandstone. And I'm thinking that maybe purple would be a really great color. Maybe this will be like the granite that is underneath. So the first thing that I'm going to do with these is find myself something that I can squish them down with. Now, if you don't have a rolling pin, you could use just a regular pen to roll each one flat. What we're going to do is we're going to stack them. So I'm going to put the purple on the bottom. Ooh, and take my orange and plop it right on top. All right, so this is just like different layers of rock. So we might have had an igneous rock layer that's on the bottom. It could be like basalt or anything else. And then maybe a riverbed or ocean came over the top of it and deposited a bunch of sedimentary rock. So that tells us a lot about what's happened over time on our land and what kind of different landscapes there might have been. So I have this sandwich thing. But then also what happens on Earth is that there's folding and faulting where rocks break, or they fold and form things like mountaintops. So I made a nice fold here. Boop. Looks kind of like a W or an M. So that's how different landforms form. But the thing that we're going to do is we're interested in how this looks from space, right? So the next thing that often happens is something called erosion. So I'm going to maximize my erosion by doing it very fast using a kid-friendly knife. You can use just a regular butter knife, or a plastic butter knife works as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pretend that I am wind or that I am water, and I'm going to come right here and I am just going to chop off the top of my mountain. So if I thought about it like this, whoop, I would have the top that weathered away. Let's blow that away like it's the wind. And what I'm left with are these stripes. Okay, so now we have our eroded landscape here. And this is the view that a satellite would see from space. You can see that it's really similar to some of the satellite images that we looked at with the different stripes. But knowing that this is what it looked like, you can think, oh, well, the purple right here would have had to come up. So even though that it's on the top, it's actually an older layer because of that folding that happened, which moved the purple layer up. And it used to be covered by that orange layer, but that orange layer eroded off when we chopped it off. But if it had been a real mountain, it would have been by wind or rain or rushing water or those tracks from people, or maybe even by equipment if they were digging really big pits or doing anything like that, some construction. So even though it's just clay, and even though a satellite can't see all the details that you might be able to see with that magnifying glass or loupe, we can still learn quite a bit about our landscape using that satellite imagery to show where the older and younger rocks are exposed here on Earth. So thanks for joining, and have a great rest of your day at home.